Hey guys, welcome back. Tisha here, back for another Sister Wives review. Let's just go ahead and get into it. We were told last season that Caleb's father did not want to officiate the wedding. Makes complete sense to me, seeing how weddings invoke certain emotions, and with his wife recently passing away, he probably didn't know how he was going to feel. Well, even though it makes sense to me, even though it would make sense to most of you, it does not make sense to the jerk that is Kody, because although he could have told his daughter prior to being at the actual location for the wedding, prior to the actual weekend of the wedding, he waits until the last minute to say that he doesn't think that he can handle this ceremony by himself. So you wait until right before the ceremony, I believe it was the day before, to ask a grieving father to please help. But we'll get into it when we get there. This episode is the episode that I was waiting for. It's finally Caleb and Maddie's wedding day. And despite majority of this episode turning into the Kody fest, I did think that certain aspects of the day were beautiful. Gotta be real, I was kind of disappointed in the ceremony. I think that making Kody the officiant was one of the dumbest decisions. That was one of the dumbest decisions that Maddie could have made. Like, you already see how off the cuff your father is. Why would you make this man the officiant? Okay, let me get back to my notes. The episode begins with seeing Maddie and the family decorate the reception area, and the adults talking about how as they're sitting here doing this, they're realizing how much time has passed. I believe Mary even makes a comment along the lines of, it feels like I just married Kody yesterday. Kody makes a face when she says it, but he, this is how quickly it's been for a lot of the members of this family. As Maddie is telling people what to do, she's realizing how intense she is, and she's correlating it to how her father is, except Maddie's intensity makes sense. You're in a crunch, they need to get this stuff done, and they're the only ones doing it because they do not have a wedding planner or things of that nature. She doesn't want to come across as timid or mean, but she wants it to get done. And I don't think she came across as either one of those ways. It's been 3 years since Curtis, Kody's brother, has passed away. We get a flashback picture of Erica and Curtis. And I'm sitting here looking at this picture, you guys, and I'm like, this family looks a lot alike. I always felt like Janelle and her kids look so much alike, but when they flashed a picture of Curtis and Erica, when they were younger, I could see Garrison in Curtis's face. I could see Hunter, and I could see Gwen. And I was like, oh my goodness, like they really, the genetics are so interesting, but they look alike. Now I know somewhere down the line, everybody's family in that family, but it just is like, wait a second, okay, I can really see it here. If you go back, look at it and tell me if you notice what I noticed. Janelle talks about how noticeable the connection was between Caleb and Maddie, even at Curtis's funeral. I don't understand how they see this chemistry between the two of them, and yet they look at their own relationships and don't see that there looks like there's no chemistry there. Because the only person that I feel like I see chemistry with, even at this point, is him and Robin. Even at one point when they're taking pictures, I see him look back at Robin because he's standing, near her. And I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too far into it. Okay, so the chairs have arrived, and even that is a task to set that up, because different people are saying, where they think it should go. And Maddie's like, look, I want it like this. They get it done. This is when having a lot of siblings comes in handy because, as I said about the bridesmaids, everybody is going to be put to work. Despite Janelle telling us how calm Maddie is during this time, Maddie is still having trouble eating food, which to me means something about Maddie is not calm. Maybe she's anxious, maybe she's stressed, because if she were calm, then eating wouldn't be an issue. Maddie begins to tell their story. Caleb and Maddie met about 3 years ago in the ICU. We've heard this before, you all. I'm just going to go over it for those of you who haven't watched it or who are just seeing this. They met 3 years ago in the ICU after her uncle passed away from a motorcycle accident. She would go out to visit Erica, who was Curtis's wife, just to, check on her and make sure she's okay and spend time with her, which I think is admirable. I wonder who else went with her when she did this, or if this was just a thing she did. During that time, her and Caleb became close. Wait a second, Maddie. Is Erica the only reason you were going out there? I mean, if it was, I'm not, your thing worked. Because, okay. She would see him because he was helping Erica. And then you see that they became close during those visits. Caleb's two best men are his nephews, Carter and McCade, which is special because that is an extension of Curtis. We find out he moved in with Erica after the passing. He put his career and his dating life on hold to make sure that his sister and his niece and nephews were okay. That is love. It's real easy to tell people, whatever you need, let me know, or I'll be there for you. But when you actually do it, when you uproot your life to make sure that you're actually there for them, that's love, because that required a certain sacrifice from Caleb for the love of his sister. Kody says when Madison was 19 that they started dating and they developed more of a connection. He was oblivious to it and he had no idea. And Christine says she had no idea either. I don't think Kody knew because Kody was too busy on his perch with that bird. But I don't know why Christine didn't know. I thought that they were close, but I guess she held that close to herself until she felt like it was going somewhere before she decided to tell people. So they started hanging out and going fishing. And after the whole four-wheeler ride, she knew that she was going to end up marrying him. Janelle says that everything that happened with them was like it was supposed to be. Despite having all this time preparing for the wedding, we see Kody approach Madison and he lets her know that he's probably going to stay off to the side in this tranquil area because he still needs to write these vows. He is so full of crap. This man was asked in March to officiate the wedding. He could have Googled something by now, but he makes this whole thing about the vows and TLC lets him. And I was so irritated hearing about Kody and his vows when I wanted to hear about Madison and her love for her now husband. She tells him he looks exhausted and he explains how he hasn't slept in a couple days. And we learn later he hasn't slept in a couple days because when he would lay down, he would think about what he has to write. Isn't he the person who told us he works great under pressure? And a lot of the wives, co-signed it. So why are we being told now about the pressure when you say you work great under it? Pick one. We get a reminder clip of how unenthused Kody seemed about officiating the wedding when he was asked. And Christine says, I think it was because you were in shock. You look like you were in shock. He agrees. And he said that as soon as he was asked, he started thinking, how is he going to do this? Because he has all these ideas. And when he begins to put them on paper, it goes from what should be only 10 minutes to a book that's like 30 minutes. That alone would have let me know that he was not the man for the job. Maddie says she's not even surprised that he hasn't finished these vows, that it's nerve-wracking to her, but she's sure he'll pull it through. As I said earlier, I wonder what made her choose him out of all people for the job. Was it because he was free? Was it because you didn't want to pay for somebody else to come out there? Did you not have like one of his brothers that could do it? Because they seem to have a little bit of knowledge here, may have been more capable than Kody. I don't know. I just felt like Kody didn't do a good job, and I was cringing during a lot of the ceremony because I was so embarrassed and I felt so bad for this beautiful couple that beforehand, with their own words, were doing fine on their own. They really didn't need Kody. Caleb's dad, Mike, along with his brothers, arrive. Kody lets us know that Mike is a pastor who had a congregation for over 20 years, that he's a professional, but he said that he did not want to do this. Keep that in mind. Kody is aware that this man does not want to do the ceremony. We see Caleb's father say that his wife, Diana, was diagnosed with cancer in December. She prayed that she could be there, and they thought she would be able to be there. But unfortunately, she has passed. So he's hoping that, heaven will open up and the one in heaven will be with them today. Caleb says that she'll have the best seat in the house. Kody is writing at the table by himself, trying to finish the vows. At this point, he lets us know that he has an outline. Janelle claims. I'm like, what? Because my thing says, do you know claims. I'm like, who is do you know? Janelle claims that Kody shared some of what he was writing and she was bawling when she read it. I wonder what Janelle read, because the entire time he was doing his spill, I wasn't crying, I was cringing. I felt embarrassed for a man that I don't even like. I felt embarrassed for these young people who are getting married, especially Maddie, because you could see some moments where Caleb was like, because of what was coming out of Kody's mouth. So Mike, Caleb's dad, joins Kody at the table and thanks him for taking over and being the officiant. You have Christine in confessional saying it's got to be a hard day for him because he's a pastor that would normally do this and he does not want to officiate. If Christine is saying this in confessional, if Caleb told you this already, why is it that Kody can't understand this when everybody else seems to? So Kody is talking to Mike about the pressure he's feeling being asked, and he's asking him all these different questions about, how do you normally do this and how would you start and what should this look like? And, what should he do? Meanwhile, you have Janelle and the wives reminding us for the umpteenth time that this is a new type of territory for them because there is no ceremony for them and it's very, very small and it's more about the covenant and it's very, very private. And I'm tired of all the excuses. I've seen multiple variations of weddings. No one person does it the same way. He could have easily looked this stuff up instead of bombarding this man who was grieving, who's trying to put on his best face to be there for his kid, who's trying to process his feelings while making sure that he isn't pulling the energy down. But you want to talk about how it's so hard because this is not what y'all do. Kody decides that he's going to talk to Madison. He's going to talk about Madison's failure to thrive as an infant, how she had an emergency appendectomy during her teen years. And as he's saying this, I'm wondering where he's going with it. Now, he could have went somewhere really well with it, but he went down a spiral because his thoughts were all over the place. He says, from the time that she's told me about finding her soulmate, I thought about the essence of the divine in this relationship, and it's made me reflective on the miracles in her life. So it takes her being attached to another man for you to begin to think about her that she's a miracle. Why couldn't you see that she was a miracle before Caleb came along? And I know I may be reaching here, but I just felt like it's odd that of all things, what made you think about the miracle that she is this man that came along. You should have thought about the miracle she was long before that. The wives tell us how Kody's good at spontaneous things. Christine adds, but this is serious. She's imagining this being so long and serious, and Truly and Solomon being like, Dad, are you done? And I don't know about, all of that. It could have been a love fest. I don't even think it had to be serious. I think it could have been joyful. I think there could have been moments where it was better than what it was, but it's not my wedding. But I was cringing like it was. Excuse me. Kody is going through all these different ideas in his head. He talks about how he did a bar mitzvah for Logan, even though they aren't Jewish, which goes back to me saying that Kody picks and chooses what he wants to follow. I do not believe that Kody was truly a polygamist at his core. I think Kody liked the idea of having these women surround him and them take care of his household and do the things that he cannot do, because it's so odd out of all things, because you had this friend that was Jewish and the friend had an influence on you that you decided to do a bar mitzvah. He tells him how, during this, he knighted Logan. And now he wants to do the same thing with Caleb, because after all, Caleb is marrying his princess. And I'm sitting here like, when did Maddie become your princess? Because by the time we started watching this show, that was not the case. Maddie told us that you went from spending time with them and doing things with them as the girls to not doing it at all. So at what point did she stop being your princess? Was it when Caleb came, or was it when the bird came? Because I think it had to do with when the bird came. So he asked Mike if he'll do it. Mike says, okay. The fact that Mike is willing to do this surprises me, because when he sat down at the table, he thanked him for being an officiant, which means I'm thanking you that I don't have to be a part of this. But now here he is, and he's being a part of this. He says, I'd like to come behind you, and I'd like to do this, and I'd like you, to be beside me, because I'm giving Caleb my princess, and as a result, she'll be his queen, and I need you to stand as my second. I want you to stand as my second. He agrees to do it. And I just feel like Kody's a dirtbag. Mike was very clear that this wasn't something he was able to do. And yet here you are talking to him over and over again about this. I think he did it because he saw that there had to be some part of this that was good, because Kody was going to destroy it. So Kody calls Madison and Caleb to come and sit with him and Mike. He has all these little journals sitting around him, and he tells him that this is where he wrote about his love for Madison. I think it's mighty convenient that he has all these journals, and even though he may have had some thoughts at various points about his children, I doubt that all of those journals were about Madison. I really don't believe it. I think that he probably added some stuff in there to make it look like it was about her, but I don't think it was all about her, because I don't trust Kody. Caleb says, Maddie would like for you to walk her down the aisle, Kody. So, Dad, can you stand at the front and wait for Kody and Maddie to walk up the aisle and just say who gives the bride away? Then you can switch positions and you can just enjoy the service. Caleb says, this is a big deal to Maddie, and I want to make sure that she has that moment. And I think that was awesome that Caleb wanted his father to do that, and that he was okay with his father just doing that. Kody lets him know, well, even though he's agreeing to do that, there's an even bigger change of plans because I asked your dad to join me with his, beside me and have his hand on my back. Caleb immediately turns to his father because he understands that this is something that his father originally didn't want to do. And he says, Dad, are you okay with that? Like, I want to make sure you're okay. Because unlike Kody, Caleb cares. His dad says, yes, Caleb, I'll be okay. And you can see the excitement in Caleb. We hear about these vows again. And what he hasn't done is making the future bride and groom concerned. And I just feel like this has become the Kody show. So it's rehearsal time. We keep getting told how this is all new to them. We get it that you had a sacred ceremony with no pomp and circumstance. You just walked to that man that really didn't have love for you, and in some cases didn't want to marry you, but he did it for convenience. I'm just over them telling us about their thing is sacred, 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 sacred. It's so sacred, yet your man doesn't honor whatever it is that y'all do in your sacred ceremony, and he doesn't treat your wife the way that he's supposed to, but all of your stuff is so sacred. So I don't want to hear about it being sacred. Rehearsing is new to them. That's what we're being told. Yet they did this very thing when they had their commitment ceremony. Did we not see them rehearse? Did we not see them practice multiple times with the kids walking out and falling behind each other and what each parent would say and all this other stuff? You rehearsed. So cut the crap. Maddie gets on the microphone because everybody's talking, and she tells them that they need to be quiet. She does not need their input right now. That, in their families, there's a bunch of chiefs and not enough Indians. And right now, she just needs everybody to pay attention. She lets them know Mary is going to be lining everyone up. I want a 5-second pause in between each person walking down the aisle. Mary is going to be in charge with getting certain things done while I am getting ready. So we see a bunch of practice. Truly lets us know that they practice over and over and over again, and she wants to see the real wedding right now. And as she's saying it, I'm like, truly, so do I, because this is being drawn out with the whole Kody Vows thing and all of this. But I guess it's nice to see the behind the scenes. So Truly is walking and twirling, and she's living her best life. Mary says Madison is beginning to walk down the aisle for practice, and she looks over at her child, Leon, who is crying and is very emotional. She lets us know that her and Leon have had a really tense relationship lately. It isn't fixed, but Leon isn't being as antagonistic towards her as they've been in more recent months. And even though, she'd like to discuss it, they're not going to discuss it this weekend, as they shouldn't. I feel like this is the last thing that anybody should be discussing. So Kody says there's something in the air that, he just feels the heavens are condoning this. And Robin says it's, because these kids found each other, they're soulmates, and she found her person, which is true. I think that you can feel the love when you see them get together. I can feel the love with Caleb and his family. I can feel the love between Maddie and Janelle. Like, there were various parts of the episode where I did find myself getting emotional. So it's dinner time. They're finished with practice, and the family is eating hot dogs and s'mores over the campfire. One thing about this grounds is, if I were in that area and I wanted to do a wedding outdoors, I think that it would be a nice area. It had a lot of beautiful parts to it. It seems very tranquil. Now, I would have to take a whole bunch of allergy medication because in my old age, I'm allergic to a lot of stuff. But I think that the spot was beautiful, and it really worked for their family. While Madison runs over the details with Mary, you see Kody saying, Mary gets to be the Zilla while Madison gets to be the bride. And Janelle talks about how you know, you're not going to be the event planner. You can put yourself as the Zilla, and they make a joke how this could be a business and things of that nature. Caleb, she makes a joke of it too. She didn't get offended by it. Caleb comes over and tells Maddie, you know, you need to get something to eat. And I love that. I love that for her, that he was making sure that his bride was okay. Okay, it's wedding day. Sorry to clap so loud. We see everyone getting hair and makeup done, all these different people, and yet they only have one makeup artist and one hairstylist. TLC, could they not afford to get two of each? But they got it done. Caleb decides to trick Maddie, and you hear him come outside the door and says he forgot his chinos. Not a funny joke for the bride. He didn't make it last very long. They tell each other they love each other, and he goes to go get his cut. We see that trick being done while Mary is filling buckets with water and grabbing flowers and doing the various things because she wants to make sure that everything is put together by 12 because that's when they're going to be taking pictures. While Madison is writing letters to all the parents and Caleb. You see Caleb taking shots with his brothers, and they're talking about the nectar of the gods. His brother Levi, who's his oldest brother, trims his beard, and the photographer takes pictures of Maddie's dress. There is something that is so beautiful about those pictures where it's just the wedding dress. And the way that she did her dress was she didn't just like do it off of a wall, or I've seen it where it's like in the middle of a door seal, or she did it so that it was like out in the open forest. What do we call that, a forest? Outside by the trees. And she had it in color and black and white, and it was very pretty. Kody says him writing these vows is making it real because we have to hear about Kody and these vows the entire time. Everybody wants him to have some reaction to this dress, and he feels like he's just gonna be stone-faced, that he's not a guy who would cry. And I'm like, okay, Kody, I don't believe it, but whatever. Savannah arrives to get her hair done, and I didn't realize that she wasn't a part of the ceremony. I think it would have been nice if she would have been included, but maybe she didn't include her because if she included her, she felt like she would have to include Robin's daughters as well and Gwen them. No, now that I think of it, it's not a big deal that Savannah wasn't there because Gwendolyn and Isabel weren't a part of it either. So it was just the older siblings, really, and Mindy and her best friend that were a part. Okay, I take it back. It makes sense. I was sitting here saying the other day, I wonder if I were to have, well, no, I don't, in my beforehand, I would have been worried about having all those bridesmaids, but I don't even want all that. Y'all can save your money. I don't know. Caleb's younger brother tells him, when you walk down the aisle, just remember, this is the first best day of your life. The next will be the day that your kids come. And Caleb says hearing those thoughts really calmed him down and he's ready. So we see Maddie get dressed. Her dress is still big because of how much weight she lost. Everybody is helping her get ready. And once her veil is on, Desi begins to cry. Desi says, you know, I didn't think 2 years ago that when we graduated high school that we would be here now, but I am happy for her. Maddie tells us again about this bohemian vibe. I'm not sure if she accomplished it or not, but she did look beautiful. Janelle gets a present from Maddie, and before she even opens it up, she gets choked up and begins to cry. We see that it's a figurine of a mother holding her daughter. I'm not into that kind of stuff, the whole figurine thing, but Janelle loved it, and she was emotional about it, so it mattered. Janelle lets us know that she is normally emotionally tough, except when it comes to her kids. Her kids are her Achilles heel, which I think we've all seen that over the years. As the moms, all the moms get flowers, so Erica's gonna get flowers too, because she now fills that space for Caleb. I think that it's a beautiful gesture. But I can see why Erica had the reaction that she did. Excuse me. Once the am I ashy? Once the flowers are presented. Maddie walks down the stairs in her dress with all of her siblings there waiting to see her. She takes pictures with them, and then she takes pictures with the moms. Christine speaks about all the struggles that she had to face before, especially how she was when they first moved to Vegas, and she can't help but look at where she is now and realize that a lot has changed for her. The bird says, when I met her, she was in such a rush to grow up, and now I see her standing there as what strikes me most is that she looks like a woman. She did. I did agree with that. That's the bird for once. I agree with that. But seeing how she's getting married, I would hope that she looks like a woman. We see Caleb and his fathers and his brothers in a circle, and they're praying. They then head down to take pictures. Kody is giving us a voiceover about these vows yet again. And I'm saying to myself, I wish he would stop talking about them. And then I get my wish, but he does the wish by ruining the surprise. He lets all the guys know that they got a deer coming. That's a cake. Caleb is like, really? Kody says, yeah, you were there with us. You know, you were there when we got it. And then he realizes that it was supposed to be a surprise, and he tries to fix it, but it's too late. Kody really is incompetent. Like, really. What was the point of you even mentioning the cake? Is it because you cannot relate to these men and that's all you have to talk about? You just had to try to pull something out of thin air. This is one of the reasons why I hate small talk in real life, because things like this happen. Caleb says, yeah, he totally blew it. And he did. His brother said, when it shows up, we'll just act surprised. Kody says, oh man, I really messed up. I just wanted to give them something to look forward to. They're looking forward to seeing their brother get married. They didn't need to look forward to a cake. Erica arrives and his family takes pictures. We then see Michelle arrive, and she has a letter for Caleb and for Kody. She gave out the letters to all the parents because Maddie asked her to. Kody begins to read his out loud. Basically, she thanks him for being a sweet and good father. She really got that wrong, but you know, this is what she saw at the time. They say that women marry their fathers, and Caleb is the best aspect of her soul. She wouldn't have him if it weren't for her dad. I don't believe that, but at the time, this is what Maddie believed. Caleb says that they really are a great family, and even though he doesn't have their beliefs, they are good. Kody does well by his wives, and he treats his wives well. That's what some of us thought too, Caleb. But now that we've seen them for who we are, we realize that that's not the case. After he's done reading his letter, he says, oh, that's so sweet. You want me to read yours and see if I can get through it? This is not about you. But anything to put the camera in Kody's face, he's going to try. He lets us know that he is just proud of Maddie and he's proud of Caleb. And then Caleb begins to read his letter. Caleb Brush. Oh, where do I start? As soon as he read that, he starts to get choked up. I remember when I first knew I was going to spend forever with you. We were sitting on the bed talking about life till 2 a.m. Now, Maddie, I want to say something about what we all doing on the bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, but I've done that too, so I'm going to let it go. Let me get back to the vows. She continues. And that time I saw your soul. In you, I have found God's love. In you, I have learned to understand the goodness of God. When I look at you, I see my future and my forever. From this day forward, I will love you with a deeper love than most humans see in 100 lifetimes. I will serve God by your side as an equal. You are my eternity and my light. I will see you walking down the aisle. I look forward to walking away as your wife and life companion, Mrs. Brush. The camera pans over to Erica, who isn't just crying, she's weeping. And I wish that he could have read that on his own, but it allowed you to see how this family shows up for each other, because as she's crying and stuff, she's in a huddle with her dad and her brother and her eldest son, and they're hugging her, and they end up walking off for a moment, arm in arm, just to give her a moment to compose herself. Caleb says Erica had a fairy tale relationship and love with Kurt. That's Curtis. She is asked that she comes back to put on the boutonniere, and that hits her too, because her mom should be able to wear it, she says. Erica says, I love you, buddy, and I'm so happy for you. He puts it on, and they embrace. I just feel like listening to those vows, well, not those vows, it felt like vows. To me, what Maddie wrote would have been perfect, which is one of the reasons why I love when people do their own vows, because it gives you a little glimpse into how they're feeling. We then see Kody talking to Nathan, Mary's brother-in-law, and his best friend about these vows yet again. Goodness gracious, TLC, you're killing us with the vow talk. The bridal party starts. When Maddie says that while the bridal party is starting to come down, you hear Maddie saying that she knows that her dad is overanalyzing the vows because he's probably worried about what people think. Kody finally sees Maddie and her dress, and him and Mike are standing beside each other as this happens. And Mike says, oh, what a blessed boy that son of mine is, which I think is such a beautiful compliment. Kody says, it's not about the wedding, it's not about the dress, but it's about the beauty of my daughter on her day. He ends up telling her at some point she's stunning. Janelle comes out, and Kody is, just I think it's really hitting him, and he feels emotional, and he tells Janelle that she looks, beautiful too. I think he said even more beautiful than the bride. He admits to being flooded with emotions and struggling at points in her life when she didn't want him to be a part of it, which, if you really think about it, is the essence of Kody's problem. Kody likes to feel like he's the most important, and once those kids stop doting on him, once those kids start formulating their own opinions and doing things on their own, this is when they lose his version of love. He tells her she's stunning and don't be embarrassed if I stared. She's smiling. What girl doesn't want to hear all these compliments from their father? He says, you're the prettiest bride I've ever seen in my life, and I've married some beauties. And you hear Maddie saying that her father really does have a way with words sometimes, and he can really put on the compliments. The wedding begins. The wedding party walks. Truly drops her flowers while she spins. Kody gets to give away his daughter. Mike says, you're about to enter a new dimension, my son. God has called you to be a man that provides and protects his family. He then reads the nice speech, but he has him take a knee, which I know is all something that Kody asked for him to do. I can't believe he agreed to do it, despite me not liking the idea originally. For some reason, the way that Mike did it and the little spiel that he gave before doing the speech didn't make me feel like it was a nice speech. It made me feel like it was something from the heart. And it might be because for Mike, I don't think he was just going through the motions. I think Mike felt some emotion with it, and it felt right. I'll say that. Caleb said, as his dad said that, it put things into perspective for him, that the days of him being a young, ignorant kid are done. And then Kody destroys the moment. He starts his speech with a joke, and it's bad, y'all. He leans in and says, Caleb, do you feel lucky? Do you, punk? Why would you call him a punk? And Caleb laughed a little bit, but it was like one of those awkward, okay, let me laugh because I don't know what else to do in this moment. He said, Caleb, your father has just knighted you, and now I'm going to make you the king. And I felt like, okay, maybe we're going to go somewhere here and it's going to be okay. Then we get into the spill. 1 minute we're talking about Madison's health. The next, Kody is crying as he thinks of God and the abundance and saving her life. Then he somehow makes it about him and being married again. Then he somehow goes back into something else. Then the next thing, he's like curious eyes, demanding pout, golden locks, full pouting lips. And I'm like, what is this? I was like, what are we reading? Is this a romance novel? Daddy, look at me, she screams with all the enthusiasm of a Christmas child. I'm like, what are we talking about? Maddie's like, Maddie's like this. Kayla's like, Caleb is wondering what the hell he signed up for. He tells these weird stories, and then he starts to cry. I love this daughter from the moment she was born, giving all the dramatics. And Truly's like, Daddy, don't be sad, be happy. He immediately snaps out of it, even though he's supposed to be crying. And I was like, oh, okay, so he's pulling a Robin. This is what Robin does. He's learning from her how to put it on. Talks about how he's been married for 4 times and he's feeling that joy today, the same joy that he felt the 4 times he was married. But we know you weren't joyful the 4 times you were married. You said in your book that you were like a deer in headlights when it came to Christine because you felt like it was too soon. And Janelle, you weren't even in love. The only person you were joyful about is the bird. Maybe Mary for a little bit, but mainly the bird. He talks about trust and being each other's safe space and praying together and dreaming together and loving each other. To me, he took the joy out of the ceremony. Once he started talking, it fell flat. I think that Madison's vows would have been enough and would have been perfect. If he was so concerned about all that stuff, he should have just read from a paper. They say their vows, they kiss. He announces them husband and wife. Mary says, you forgot the rings. He goes, oh my goodness, they don't do this in polygamous ceremonies, so I forgot. Maddie looks uncomfortable. She tells the crowd, it's okay, we'll just do it later. I feel like, Mary, you didn't have to say it. They were walking off and didn't realize it. She ends up doing it after the ceremony is over. Caleb struggles to put the ring on her finger, but they get it done. They take pictures and head to the reception. They are introduced. Janelle admits that Kody was a hot mess, but he pulled it off. And there are no lies told with that statement because he was a hot mess. Caleb says them being married feels the same. It just feels like he's now married to his best friend, which if it feels the same, it makes me wonder, was it because you were already participating in some of the things that happen in marriage? Because I would think some of it may have felt a little different. But then again, I haven't been married. So the people in the comment section, let me know who are married or have been married if it feels the same. At the reception, Janelle and Kody make speeches. Janelle begins and she gets choked up. Then she basically lets us know in her speech how horrible a good portion of her marriage was. I was like, this is not what you're supposed to do. She goes, you're going to get in your life and things are going to be really hard. And you're going to be like, okay, we just got to trudge it out. And you're going to get better. I said, well, goodness gracious, this is supposed to be a love thing. It's a toast. Even though you don't like the cliche things, you could have just said it's not going to be perfect. And there may be some points where it's, rough, but just continue to fight through because, you all are a beautiful couple who can do it. Something like that. But I was like, goodness gracious, dude, like we just going down the negative hill here. First Kody and now Janelle. Kody says, remember this beautiful experience. enjoy each other, enjoy your safe space, protect your soulmates. I don't know what I wrote there. Something that probably doesn't matter. Maddie says that for Kody, his soulmates are his kids, and it's important that his kids have good lives, good children that are happy. I wonder when it changed. They arrive on the dance floor where we get to see Caleb's cake. He's so excited about it, and so are his brothers. They're hunters who have stickers on their vehicles that say Elk-oholics. They cut into the cake, which has a thick fondant, which Mary points out looks like skin, and it does. And they feed each other the red cake instead of using the other cake. Caleb gets the garter. He throws it. Kody doesn't want to be anywhere near that thing because he does not want to get married again. Garrison catches it, and at first he's excited about it, and then he realizes that it's on his sister. It was on his sister's thigh, which only Garrison would think about all of that because Garrison was so clever. He then gets grossed out by it. We see Leon catch the bouquet. They say Leon's not dating anyone, but I wonder if at this point they were, because I think they were. We see everybody dancing, including Madison and Kody, and then Caleb and Madison. And while they were dancing, I was like, oh my gosh, y'all are going to rip her arm out of her socket. It was so aggressive, the spin and the yank and the spin and the pull. And I'm just like, okay, we're just going to keep spinning and yanking and pulling the girl. But she seemed like she was okay with the fact that it was about to be ripped out the socket. Kody talks about how for this wedding, they were showered with God's grace. Maddie says the weather was better than she thought. I said the weather. The wedding was better than she thought. And everything ended up playing out to be perfectly. And Caleb said that he's just happy that his bride is there and he can't get over how beautiful she looked. And that's basically the end of it. I know there's some things that I left out. If you want to talk about it, feel free to put it down in the comment section. Do me a favor and like the video. It helps me in the algorithm. We are on the road to 2,000. For my Sister Wives crew, I will be back on Wednesday. Sister Wives reviews for this week are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The book is scheduled for Tuesday and Thursday, but you all, for those of you who don't know, I'm currently reading 50 Years in Polygamy by Kristen Decker. She is the aunt of Christine Brown, and this book is good already. She's going back in time and working her way up from what I could tell. I'll have the preface and forward up, chapters 1 and 2. I've already read chapters 3 and 4, which will be up on Tuesday and Thursday. And on one of them, I have to put trigger warning for those of you who are a part of the book club, because there is some stuff in there that even caught me off guard. But I would encourage you all to listen, because she's really already telling things, even though in chapter 4, we're in like kindergarten. So she's being transparent, and I can appreciate it. And I think that the book, even though it's lengthy, it's going to be a really good read that gives us some things to talk about and think about. Sorry this is so long. Thanks again for joining me. Until next time.